I'm so excited to share a conversation with fellow adult ballet dancer Katy. In this episode, we dive into how she creates and maintains a training plan that works for her schedule as a busy professional and mom. We cover it all, from the tools she uses to create efficiency to the mindset that helps her stay consistent. We also talk honestly about navigating burnout, something that's very real, even for adult recreational dancers. And we discuss the importance of staying flexible with your training so you can keep showing up for yourself with joy and motivation. Whether you're looking to build structure into your training or just seeking some inspiration to organize your schedule, this episode is full of insights and encouragement to help you train efficiently and avoid burnout. Let's jump in. Thank you so much for being here, Katy. I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here.
It's going to be a fun conversation. I am so excited to just dig into this topic because I think it's really practical for all adult dancers. But I would love to start with just a little bit about your background and about your path back into ballet as an adult and what inspired that and what are some of the challenges that you personally experienced when coming back to ballet.
I kind of grew up dancing. I mean, I always thought that I started late, but it's all relative. And now that I'm so much more older, I'm like, I did not start that late. But I started when I was about 12. I did every type of dance and then just fell in love with ballet. So really started focusing on that in high school and then went on to college, jumped around a whole bunch of majors, and I just could not figure out what I wanted to do. But I had taken all these ballet classes in the meantime. And so I had all these dance credits and I was like, I guess I'll just major. I mean, the university at the time, it was a Bachelor of Fine Arts with an emphasis in ballet. So that's what I ended up doing. And then I graduated and pretty soon after I graduated, I had my first kid. So I was actually pregnant in the first trimester when I was performing my senior capstone project. I'm so sick. But anyway, I had her and then I kind of distanced myself from ballet a little bit. I had kind of finished feeling really, really burnt out, feeling like I wasn't where I wanted to be, technique-wise, strength-wise, all the things, just feeling I wasn't good enough or whatever. And I just didn't want it in my life anymore. So I decided to change courses, find a different career, wanted to focus on healthcare, taught a little bit of ballet through those years of trying to get myself into PA school. And once I got into PA school, completely quit teaching at all. And throughout that time, hadn't danced at all. School, graduated in 2020, and then I was working. And then last year was kind of just finding myself in a rut. It's I finished all the school stuff, finished, done having kids, what phase of life am I in now? Kind of feeling some other crazy changes going on in my life and needing just an outlet. That's when I was I guess I'll try a ballet class. I'd seen the algorithm had really honed in on me on Instagram. At the time I did have TikTok. I don't anymore. But I had just seen all these adult ballet dancers and I was I had no idea this was a thing. Really? I had no idea I could still dance as an adult, just recreationally. So I found a class close by and then was immediately obsessed. And I feel this is the first time since I've had kids that I'm actually doing something for myself because I want to. It's been really nice to have. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you came back to it just for you. I think that's really special. And I think that's a lot of adults feel that way, as something that's just for them to be able to have something in life that they can kind of escape into a little bit and just check out from some of the other pressures. And I also love too that social media played a part in exposing you even to the idea that there was a space for you, because it was similar for me. I didn't really realize how big the community was getting until I stumbled upon Catherine Morgan's YouTube channel and then in the land of social media also being oh my gosh, there's other adults that are doing this. And it kind of opened my mind to the possibilities. So
Yeah.
it's cool to hear that it's also been a positive thing for you. And that's actually how we connected, was Instagram. And you posted a reel probably a month or so ago where you you kind of broke down your training plan. And I thought it was so interesting and cool because I had never seen someone take the approach that you had of like really systematizing how you do it. And so I would love to pick your brain about how you go about this because I think you have so many great insights because it's something you do for yourself and you've kind of like honed a system that you use. So how do you or how have you been as you've come back over the last year approaching setting goals as an adult dancer? Like as someone who kind of trained seriously when they were younger and then came back as an adult, I'm sure that you had specific things that you were like, I want to be able to do, you know, this, and this. So how did you approach setting goals and how did you prioritize what you wanted to work on when you first came back?
First of all, it's taken me many years of life to realize that I don't do well with setting goals because I get overly obsessed. And then when I don't meet those goals, I feel a lot of guilt and shame, or like if I'm not working towards them. So probably within the last 5 years, it was just a realization that, okay, I don't set goals. First of all, this phase in my life, I'm really working on becoming more attuned with myself. And so what I really tried to do in this phase of my life is really be one with myself and make sure that all my motivations are coming from a place of me and like something that I truly want to do. So that was kind of a beautiful thing when I came back to ballet, and what's been driving me this whole time is like, I want to do this. Like it's just genuinely something I want to do. And anything I do along this path, I want it to be coming because I want to do it. So I start from there, right? Because I think that some people, you know, they'll pick a type of workout or a fitness or whatever because they feel like they should, right? Like I should be working out, or I should be eating more healthy, or I should be waking up early. But like, I don't feel like that ever works or that's even healthy. Like, do it because you want to. So that's the beautiful thing about ballet is I want to do it. So first of all, I'm centered in that. I know that's something I want to do. It fulfills me in so many different ways. So I start from that place. And then I kind of love to live in the fantasy realm and then accept anything that trickles down. So I do exist in this fantasy world of like being a prima ballerina one day, right? Like, and that's never going to happen, but I love to exist there. And I love to just like imagine what it would take to get there. So I kind of start from there and then I accept anything that comes along the way. And then my goal is to just always show up, like just keep showing up because I want to. And if I ever don't want to, then let's change paths. So, and then it's finding that balance of like, well, you are still going to have to show up sometimes, even if you don't want to, but what do you really want? So hopefully that's making sense from there. So I kind of start from there, and then living in that fantasy realm is like, okay, now what's the most I can give to become what I want to be? Then I start to break down, okay, well, I can give this many days a week and I can give this many hours.
I love what you said about how so often as adults we are doing things because we feel like we should do them versus like, do I actually want to be doing this? Because I've honestly had to stop and ask myself that even with ballet a couple of times when I started to feel burnout and I'm like, okay, I don't feel like I'm taking class right now because I actually want to be taking class. I feel like I'm taking class because it's become like this checklist thing that I should be doing. And I don't want ballet to become a should. I want it to be stay something that I want to do. But I think that like that happens for adults a lot. Even with something that we love like ballet, it kind of starts to drift into that territory of becoming something that we feel guilty if we're not doing it. So I love the whole framework of starting from there. I think it's interesting too how like I like this idea of working backwards, like starting with evaluating your schedule and seeing here's the holes that I have essentially, like which is going to look different for everyone. I think that's a great place to start is just kind of like sitting back, looking at an average week and identifying the holes in your schedule and kind of moving from there. So yeah, keep going. This is great.
Okay, good. I gain the most and progress the most with technique classes, and specifically in-person technique classes. There is like such a level of effort you can give in a ballet class. And for me, that level increases exponentially when I'm in person. So I'm really lucky. The studio I go to, they have 3 Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Saturday I sometimes go to if I'm feeling well. So I started my training schedule from there. Okay, 3 technique classes plus 1 point class, and then kind of started to sprinkle in cross training from there. So what I was doing before I came back to ballet was a lot of weightlifting. And so I do have a lot of understanding about weightlifting and just like have done a ton of different programs in that realm. So I didn't want to let go of that completely. So the days I don't do technique classes, I focus on weightlifting. So I just broke it down to, Monday, Wednesday, Friday are my technique classes. Tuesday, arms, back, upper body, strength. And then Thursday, lower body. I'd gone through different platforms of workouts from that. I don't do good at making up my own workouts. I want someone to tell me what to do. So I have some apps that I use for that. So that gets my strength training in for upper body, lower body. I try to make sure I stretch every day, just because flexibility was like a huge hurdle for me coming back. And for me personally, ballet is not fun if I don't have the mobility or like freedom of mobility, right? Like if I'm feeling restricted in any position, that's not enjoyable for me. So I don't think flexibility is required to be a beautiful ballet dancer. But for me personally, it doesn't feel good. So
Yeah.
it was like I needed flexibility training daily to get to a point where I could really enjoy it more. So I incorporated that, and I've kind of ebbed and flowed in the techniques I use for flexibility training there. And then I make sure I have at least 1 day off a week, and the other day is a easier day.
Mm-hmm.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So do you tailor your strength training routine to things you're working on in ballet at all, or do you just kind of focus more on like a full body workout? Like how do you structure even your strength training when you're doing that as opposed to like a ballet class?
Yeah. So I'd say within the first year of coming back, because I already had like a good foundation of like muscular strength and I was lacking so much in like the finer movements, um, my strength training days were actually like barely any weight. Like we're talking maybe ankle weights or like 5-pound weights, and doing ballet specific training Pilates type things. So I initially was using Ballet with Isabella, some of her workouts, and then I was using Dance Master class. So I'd go in and I'd pick like the 30-minute upper back improve arabesque workout or something, right? They have a lot of good options on there. So that's what I did initially. But now that it's been like a year and a half, I'm wanting to gain some strength back. So now those strength training days are actually more weightlifting focused. So I have an app, and so I'll just select an upper body workout that she has, and I'll do that on those Tuesdays, and then I'll do a lower body workout on Thursdays, and then incorporate some extension specific stuff, or like maybe like on the upper body day where I do, bicep curls, triceps, all that stuff, I'll add in some backups, like for my arabesque, right? Like,
Yeah.
sprinkling in them here and there, because I think it's so hard to translate normal strength training into ballet specific moves like that. And then you have all this information coming in at you, like from social media, that's like, you really need to focus on weight training. Here's a way to get your arabesque. Here's a blah, 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 blah. It's just like, oh my gosh. So I don't know. I try to keep it simple. I try to not let all the outside voices like come in, and I try to just come up with a plan and then stick with it. And patient and give it some amount of time. And if I'm not seeing improvement where I want to see improvement, then adjust it. But I try not to jump around to a whole bunch of different things, because social media makes it sound like, just did this, did this.
I know. I wanted to ask you about that too, because I think it can be really hard now in the time that we're in. It's amazing because we do have so much at our fingertips, but the flip side of it is that it can become really chaotic. And so, yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Like, how did you choose which platforms you were going to use, and what was the process behind like, okay, this is the platform I'm going to subscribe to? Because I'm assuming some of the platforms you use, you have to pay for. So what is that decision making process for you?
So I typically try to if I'm curious about something, I don't sit on it. I just give it a try.
Yeah.
Which sometimes can be financially a burden. But most things, I mean, I'm not committing to anything that's like a year long, right? Like, okay, for example, Ballet with Isabella is the more expensive platform that I used. And I was like, okay, 3 months, I can afford 3 months of this. So that way, at least I know. And then once I really started getting a good foundation from there, it's like, okay, I don't need to keep paying for this. What's another thing that I can fit in here that will kind of work? And so that's when I went to dance masterclass, right? That was just like the next thing that was on my list to try out. And I know there's other platforms and I know there's other ways to do it. But like I said, it's just trying to simplify. You have to sometimes just give it a try and then stick with it for long enough to know if it's working. And then if it's not, move on. But yeah, it can be really hard with all the information that is being thrown. And I think one thing that I think is really important for all of us to remember, and I have to remind myself all the time, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So if you're scrolling and this thing says 3-week course to get higher extensions, and it's this girl putting her leg up here, it's like, no, that's probably not going to work. I have to remind myself all that all the time.
Okay, let's be real. Not all dancewear is created equal, but Jewel dancewear, they get it. Their meshy tights are durable, come in unique colors like purple and blue, and the back seam makes your legs look amazing. Seriously, my legs have never felt more snatched. And their leotards? They're like the little black dress of the ballet world. Flattering and chic, the one you reach for over and over because you know you look good in it. But what I love most is that Jewel's sizing is truly adult ballet body friendly. Their pieces embrace and support your curves so you feel as good as you look. And because you're part of this community, Jewel is giving you 15% off your order with the code AFTERCLASS15. That's AFTERCLASS15 at jeweldancewear.com, because every dancer deserves to feel confident in class. Special thank you to Jewel Dancewear for sponsoring this episode. So I'd love to talk about how you actually keep track and organize all of this, because in the things that I saw on social media, it was really cool. I saw you use a spreadsheet. So can you talk us through, once you've found your platform, how do you record and like track your progress?
I have the Excel sheet. I was going to pull it up so I can look at it so I can remember. And now I can't find it. So basically, I kind of organized it into like day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way to day 7. And then I pasted the links to the specific exercises I wanted to do on those days. So I can just open the Excel sheet and then click on the link. Okay, there's my workout. There's my stretch. When I was first coming back, I couldn't do my own stretching because I didn't know. It's like it had left my brain. I was like, wait, do I lunge? Like, how do I stretch a hamstring? How do I stretch a quad? I don't know. So I really, for those hour stretches, I needed to be coached through it. So yeah, it was that initial Excel sheet had everything I needed. The link to the classes I wanted to do those days and whatnot. Now I just have it in my Google Calendar. So like for today example, I'll have like a task. I just click on that link and then it opens up the workout.
I love that.
Yeah, so that helps me stay like, I don't have to overthink anything. I'm pretty busy like in life in general. So it's just like, for example, today I've not done any workout. It just hasn't happened. And sometimes that happens. But when I happen to have the window of time, it's like, I already have a plan. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. A lot of these things I can make happen from home if I need to, or I take out the cardio. I try to be flexible where I can there.
Yeah.
But it just really helps to have that visual of like, oh yeah, Thursday I do this. And then, obviously now that I've been doing it for like over a year and a half, it's kind of just in my brain and my body that that's what we do on this day, whatnot.
But I think the genius of that, like I'm thinking about how I think most people are this way. It's like if you say to your friend or your spouse, let's watch this movie tomorrow night. You sit down, you turn on the TV and you watch the movie. If you just say like, oh, let's watch something tomorrow night, what do we all do? We sit there and we spend 30, 40 minutes trying to figure out what we're going to watch. And then usually we just end up watching a rerun of a show and I think it's like the exact same principle when it comes to making time for training. So often not having that decision already made is what will prevent us from doing the thing. And so I think this is such a great and effective approach because you're taking all of the barriers to doing it out of your own way. And it's like, here's my spreadsheet with the links to the class, or here's my Google Calendar with the links to the class. And so it's like you don't have to sit there and decide in the moment when there's already going to be other barriers or resistance, just in your own mind of like, I'm tired, or like, oh, I'm kind of busy. So I think like everything we can do to take those barriers out of our own way is so helpful. And I think those are like both great ideas. I was thinking about that even for me. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to do that in my Google Calendar where I just put the exact link to the workout I want to do.
Yeah.
I think that's such a easy but effective way to do it.
Yeah.
How do you protect that time and make sure that you're actually getting to stick to your training plan?
Yeah. Great question. And I feel like it just comes back to like, it's what I want to do. So like when you really want to do something, you're going to find the time like that. I don't know. There's nothing more true to me than that. So it's not hard to find the time. That's not true. It is hard, but it's not as hard as if it was something I didn't want to do. So I think that since I've come back to ballet, there are a lot of things in my life that I don't do anymore. And one of those things is I don't keep a perfectly clean house anymore. So that's something I had to let go. And you know what? I'm living my best life. My house is a mess, but I'm dancing, and so it's great.
Love that. I honestly love that. I think that's such freeing advice to women, especially.
Yeah.
I think we tend to just live under this feeling of like, I have to be able to do it all the time.
Exactly.
And I'm like taking that for myself. Yes. That it's okay to let things go. And I also think too, I think that's even a really cool thing to be showing your children. I am prioritizing something that brings me joy and is healthy for me. And I think that that's a really great example.
Yeah, I think that's one reason ballet was like such a saving grace for me, because instead of, okay, it's my day off, being so overwhelmed by all the stuff I needed to do that I would just like become paralyzed. Like, no, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm so overwhelmed, right? Like the baseboards need dusted. Oh, that hasn't been swept in forever. Oh my gosh, I need to, the laundry's not folded or whatever. Like the list is never ending.
Yeah.
But as soon as I brought ballet back into my life, and now my days off are ballet first, it's like so much more freeing, because then you realize the house is dirty and we're all still alive, right? Like the house is not as clean as it used to be, and now the kids step up and help more. Everyone's more involved now in the responsibilities around the house, right? Like the meals aren't as planned or as prepped, and we're still surviving. So I don't know. I think it's true. And depending on the personality, we have all these expectations of ourselves, and those just became a little bit crippling to me. And so, but I also acknowledge that that's like a major luxury, because, I do have the extra time. Like if I wanted to have a spotless house, I could, because I have those days off and I could do those things, but I needed a different outlet and a different avenue. So not everyone has that time. And I think that it should be adding to your cup. So if you're working 9 to 5 and you have kids, go to the class because you love it and it's adding to your life, not taking away, right? Like I wouldn't be able to do this because I love it if it was also ruining our family life. It just has to be a balance. Start with doing it because you want to do it, and then prioritize what's most important. And whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's like the key, is prioritizing. And I think I try to kind of always be checking in with myself just in life in general. What are the things that are actually going to matter more when I look back in a year or 5 years? Because I think, there are things that are just like, okay, this can take a back seat so that I can go to class. And then there's times where I don't go to class because something else is more important. There's a family thing, or a friend who I haven't seen in forever is in town, and that's the only time they can hang out. And it's like, okay, well then ballet is going to take a backseat to do that thing. So I think it's like for adults, because this isn't our whole lives, this isn't our career, there's kind of this constant balancing act and juggling of like, okay, what's the priority today, right now? And like sometimes that gets to be ballet and sometimes it has to be something else. But I think that constant checking in, at least for me, is like a helpful funnel, to run things through when I'm feeling a little bit like, oh, I can't do it all. It's like, okay, what's the priority today? I've had times where things are so chaotic work wise and I feel like I shouldn't go to ballet, but I like, no, I need to go to ballet.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's like the constant give and take as a grown up.
Yeah. And like letting go of like, and I guess this is why I said what I said in the beginning, that I don't set goals, right? Because if I did have a goal, like I want to be able to, I don't know, do triple pirouettes by December. Then I would feel so much more stressed if I wasn't, if I had to sacrifice a ballet class to take care of my kids or whatever. Because it's like, oh no, I'm not going to meet that goal.
Yeah.
So it's like changing the external pressure, letting go of the external pressure and remembering that we're doing this because we love it. And like, even if I didn't get any better, I would still love it and I would still want to show up. It's like when you start from there, then it's easier to find the balance. And I guess that's one reason why I don't set formal goals, because it's harder to adjust things when you have to. Or for me personally, it feels more of a like, I can't let go of this. I'm supposed to achieve this thing.
Yeah.
Instead of remembering that, like, wait, why does it even matter? Why do I have to make any progress? Why can't I just show up and enjoy it, And I know that's not absolutely realistic because, of course, we all want to make progress. And progress is really enjoyable and fun. But it's always good to just go back to, like, when I'm having a hard day, like, even if I didn't get any better from where I am right now, I'd still want to keep showing up. So,
yeah. It's always cool when you can like go back to that place and realize that that is the answer of like, I still would want to come, even if I wasn't. And like, I think that's always a grounding mindset. Kind of on this topic too, is I noticed recently you did a post about just feeling like burnt out and needing to kind of pull back to regain some motivation. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think I loved how vulnerable and authentic that was, because I totally resonated with where you said I almost felt like I didn't earn the right to like feel burnout. And I was like, oh yes, that is so real. And I think a lot of adults feel that way, kind of going back to what we were saying earlier again about, should we get into this mentality of like, I really should be going to class, I really need to, be doing the thing. And then we kind of burn ourselves out. And I think a lot of adults experience that. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. So, I think that I had been pushing really hard. And I was surprised that I wasn't really hitting too many barriers. Something in the back of my head kept being like, this is probably a little too much. You should probably be doing less. But I was like, but I want to do this and I feel great. And so I was really fortunate that like for a year and a half, that's how I felt. And I didn't have any major injuries or anything. And then I just hit a point in August where I was getting weaker, not stronger. It was like, what the heck? Like, it's normal to have an off day where you're like, ooh, I feel really weak today. And then a couple of days later, the strength comes back and you're like, oh, yes, it's back. But it's like, I had a specific day where it's like, oh my gosh, I feel awful today. Something's probably just off. And then every time I come back to class or to my workout, it's like pushing against so much resistance. Like, I don't have the strength. I'm so tired. I wasn't sleeping good. I had no appetite. I was in pain all the time. I was like taking way too much ibuprofen. So, so then, and then it got to the point where I was like, ooh, I'm not having fun with this. Like, I would show up to ballet class and I'd just be like counting down the minutes, where normally it's like, the class isn't long enough, I want more. And so once it hit that point, I was like, okay, I don't know for sure if this is physical burnout or what this is, but clearly this is not my want anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of following a pre-made plan that I had done. And so it's time to take a break. Then I really, probably a month ago, went to just like maybe one class a week and like a little bit of stretching here and there. And then I took almost 2 whole weeks off of doing nothing, which I had not done. since I had come back to ballet. I was just kind of like gauging. I mean, when I started cutting back training, I was feeling so much better. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I think that's what it was. I think it was physical burnout. It was a really hard thing for me to accept because it was like, what the heck? There are people who train way harder than me. Like, you feel kind of weak or you feel like an imposter. You feel like like people are going to think I'm dumb. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's why I love that you posted it, is because I literally was like, oh my gosh, I have felt this way at various points in my journey. And I've never really said anything about it because I felt all of the same things that you were expressing of like, well, I'm not a professional dancer. Who am I to be like, oh, I have burnout and I don't dance nearly as much even as some people that do it recreationally. So why do I feel this way? The imposter syndrome part of it comes in. And so I loved that you talked about it because I'm sure I am not the only one that was like, oh my gosh, yes. Like that is so real. Like what happens sometimes? Like I mean, I know what happens. And it's funny because I've even had, my mom be like, yeah, you're doing a lot, when I'm taking a lot of classes and stuff. And I think sometimes as a dancer, we don't see it as a lot. Yeah, we don't recognize it because we're comparing ourselves to professionals.
Yeah, because I live in this fantasy world and it's like, well, I'm not training as much as a Vaganova student. So, I mean, that would be the only time that I would actually get burnout is if I was doing like 8 hours of ballet a day. So this doesn't.
And then it's like the funny flip side of that is, yeah, and a Vaganova student isn't doing, 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
I think we look at it as just our ballet training of like, well, how much ballet am I doing? And it's like, well, it's not just the ballet. Like it's everything else that's happening in our lives and the other sources of stress and all these things. But I think burnout is so real even for adult recreational dancers,
And isn't that so funny? Because it's like, if you're a professional, pre-professional, like, or when I was in college, what I felt last month was exactly what I felt for like years dancing, having no clue that that was burnout, and also never realizing that I could take a break or like, because when you're in the training, right, or if you're dancing professionally and you start to feel burnout, like, how the heck are you going to get the time that you need? Like, so that sucks. And then we're here as like recreational adult ballet dancers experiencing it. We can take the break, but we're not believing ourselves that we even need to take the break. So it's just like, come on, let's have a little bit more sanity around this.
Yeah, and I think like we all need to almost be like constantly reminding each other of like, hey, rest. Like don't take class for a week. Ballet will be here for you when you're like, I have to tell myself that all the time. Ballet will still be here for you in a week or in 2 weeks. Like there's this, and I think it stems a lot of times from as adults already feeling like we're racing against the clock a little bit, of like trying to fit it all in before we die. I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is that we're literally trying to be. But we're just like so frantically trying to get in all of the dancing that
well, and also like, it is a real thing that ballet is so unnatural. And so it is scary to not take class even for a week because you know that when you come back, it's going to be harder to turn out. It's going to be harder to point your foot. Like these are all real things that it just feels like a bigger hurdle than like, just a typical workout or whatever. So totally, it's scary to take a break because you know it's going to be hard when you come back, but it feels so much better when you actually want to be there. And like I went from in that phase of like, wow, I don't know if I even like ballet anymore, to then trying to decide when do I go back. And then I had a dream one night where I was like, I love ballet. And then I woke up, I was like, okay, it's time. I love it again. We can go back now. So that's like the beauty about being an adult and doing it recreationally. Like take the break till you're ready to come back.
Yeah, it's something I think we all definitely need to be talking about more and like encouraging each other that like it's okay. It's okay to step back and it's okay to it's like it's a both and like it's great to have the plan like we were talking about like having a training plan is great I think for so many reasons and it's also okay to temporarily suspend the plan in favor of resting. It's like it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And I think as ballet dancers, that's like a very natural place for us to go. It's funny because it just seems to be a very common thread with the types of people that do ballet. We're like all or nothing people, you know, we're like going 100%, or we're like,
That's true. Yeah. It's like if you're hitting a wall and you don't feel like you're getting stronger, take that as your sign to change it up.
So do you have any pieces of advice kind of closing up for adults who want to build a training program like what you're doing, but kind of just don't even know where to begin?
You have to start with, what do you actually want? And what do you want to be doing, not what you should be doing, or doing it because you should be doing it. And then, like I said, figure out what time you have. Say it's only 2 days a week, then just be smart with your time and be patient, right? Like, know first and foremost that progress in ballet is slow. Like, it is so slow. and everyone's on a different path, right? And everyone's going to progress in a different way.
Yeah.
But I cannot believe that I stretched every day for a year and still didn't have my splits. And it's not like I was just like willy-nilly stretching. Like, I was motivated and it didn't happen until like months after that. But
honestly though, like, thank you for saying that, because I think that there's so many people who feel like, why the heck can I not get my splits in? You know, I've seen people say in a week, like, you can get them. And so you're thinking that that's actually an achievable thing. And so, like, hearing you be like, it took me a year and I was doing it consistently and taking it seriously is so freeing.
Yeah, it took me, let me be more specific here. It took me a year to get my right split, and it was still uncomfortable. I did not have my left split or my middle split, and I'm barely approaching that now after a year and a half of like really dedicated training. So yes, so the advice I would give to someone who's wanting to make a training plan is, progress is really slow, and don't be hard on yourself if you can't give it a lot of time, and just accept that my progress is going to look different because I'm giving 2 days a week instead of 5 days a week, because we got to live our lives too. So start with what you can give and then be smart with the training. Try to stick to just one thing for a good amount of time so you can actually see the progress there. If your goal, for example, is flexibility, pick one flexibility routine and do that consistently for like 3 months. Do not compare yourself to other people. Just, don't do it. You don't know what their lives look like, right? Like, you don't know the time they have. You don't know what their background was. So try to just, like I said in the beginning, just be like self-attuned. Like, listen to yourself, focus on yourself. Don't be like pushed by external forces.
Yeah, and I love the idea that, you know, you gave of even just using like an Excel spreadsheet and using a Google Calendar, because I think those are some really, really practical ways to make all of it feel a little less overwhelming and chaotic in the day-to-day. Like, just putting it in with the link is such a great, like, I'm literally gonna do that after we're done recording. I'm gonna go in and literally insert the links for the videos that I want to do, because I'm like, that is a game changer tip. So
you could even like say you only have like, I don't know, 15 minutes a day to give to training outside of ballet class. So, okay, well, now on my Google Calendar, I'm going to say, get a reminder Monday, Wednesday, Friday, do a 15-minute ab workout, and just pull up YouTube, look for an ab workout, right? And when that reminder goes off, just stop and do the ab workout. It's 15 minutes, right? Like, we can all give 15 minutes. There's smart and efficient ways to do it. So
yeah, I love it. So helpful. Thank you so much for coming on and for sharing all this. I absolutely loved chatting with you, and I know the listeners took away a lot of good stuff, and I certainly did. I will be implementing the things that we talked about. And thank you also too for sharing about the burnout part, because I think that's like such a relatable topic that does not get the airtime it deserves. So we can all support each other, and like ballet burnout is real, even for adult recreational dancers. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to share it with a friend, and we will see you next time after class. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support the show, you can join the After Class Core de Ballet for just $3 a month through the listener support feature. It really helps keep the podcast going, and as a member, you'll even get a special shout out in future episodes. All the links mentioned in this episode, including the link to join the Core, are included in the show notes. See you next week after class!